Welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and I haven't made a video in a few weeks. Not because I'm getting out of the hobby. No, I've been sick. You can probably hear it in my voice still. I've been battling a nasty case of bronchitis and couldn't talk long enough without coughing to actually make a video. So, with being sick, I haven't done a lot of work to my tanks, so maintenance has fallen way behind. I did just earlier this week get a water change done on the 24 gallon, and I've even managed to scrape the glass on both tanks. We're doing better. So, it's time to catch up on some maintenance on this tank, but first thing we gotta do is, since this tank has been growing coral really well, it's time to go through and make some adjustments. We're gonna cut some coral, we're gonna move some coral around to really accommodate for the growth. Because as coral grows in, there's gonna be winners and losers, and you gotta move stuff around to accommodate. And the great thing about being a reefer is sometimes you get to pick the winners. The tank itself is looking great, but now that the coral's starting to fill in, I need to make a few adjustments. Two of my favorite Euphyllia in the tank are the gold hammer and the gold frog spawn. Well, this gold frog spawn is basically being shadowed by the green and pink frog spawn above it. And this gold one has grown to the point where its growth is actually stunted by itself. So it's a good time to actually cut this to propagate it so I can actually grow more of it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the gold frog spawn right up high in the tank where this Duncan is. You can see that basically the Duncan's losing the war with the frog spawn around it, so it's time to pull that coral and allow something else to be there. This will be a great spot for that gold frog spawn to really grow out and make something of itself. My little hot tank with blue polyp Montipora has been growing really well right where it's at. But it's in a bad neighborhood. I've got a big Seriatopora sitting right next to it. We've got that purple Monty right next to it. And basically, it's being crowded out by its neighbors. So what I think I'm gonna do is remove this big orange Monty, which I have tons of, and create a spot right there for that beautiful coral to grow out. Now, it actually looks better in real life than it does in the tank as you see it right now. Believe it or not, this is Crazy T, which is a pretty expensive Montipora. When I got it, it was basically yellow and purple. Now it's more pink with purplish polyps. But anyways, it's being overgrown by the Atlantis pink tip above it, so we're gonna break that piece of Montipora off to provide some extra lighting so it's no longer being shadowed. To cut the gold hammer colony, I'm gonna use an old tile saw. I could use the bone cutters right here, but they have a tendency to actually break the skeleton, and I've had enough times where I've broken the heads of the coral that I'm not gonna use those. Now this is supposed to use water, but as fast as this cut's gonna be, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it dry. So the goal is to get 2 colonies out of this and 1 head. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it right here. That'll give me 2 3-headed colonies, and then I will probably cut this head off here. The reason I'm cutting an individual head is I want to put a piece in the 24 gallon basically just to hedge bets. If something ever happens to the 210 gallon, I'd love to have a copy of this in the other tank. Since you guys love gel filters so much, personally, I think it kind of puts some fake color out there, but it does look really cool. So here's that goldish hammer. I'm actually pretty disappointed in the color of this. It is like more of a green gold these days. It used to be a nice bright gold, but after the crash, it lost color, and hopefully we'll get it back. Cool thing is I've got a piece in the 24 gallon, so If it can color up, I've got another system to try it in. And then here is that gold frog spawn. It's not fully open yet. It's a little stressed from the movement, but it's no longer down here in this dark hole. I've put it up where it gets some light. So once it adjusts, that will be probably the showpiece of this tank. It's just such a cool coral. So we'll go over some of the movement stuff first. I've tried adding this toadstool back in. We'll see if it'll stand up. It's in plenty of bright light near the surface, lots of flow. So if there's any place I've got left in this tank for that to thrive, it's right there. And then I had two Montiporas here, which I took out. They were the purple and the orange, and it allowed me to kind of move some stuff around and make some room up front for some of the higher end frags that I have. And I went ahead and put some chalices up on top back here because I need a place for chalices, and you know, relatively bright light, relatively good flow will hopefully make these guys thrive. Then I added another toadstool back here because bright light, lots of flow. And I love toadstools. Let's see. Move those Monties around. Here's that pink one with the blue polyps. Super cool. Then here's a little Anacropora, not the brightest thing in the world, but it's actually a really cool coral that was actually harvested by Jake Adams from a shipwreck, I believe. So pretty cool. Setosa looks awesome as always, but in real light, this thing's like hot pink. In the video I'm seeing now, it's more of a red. Part of the reason these gel filters just bug me, the color's just not right. There's my grafted Monty. You can still see some of the algae in here. It's just taking a little time to get rid of it all. So those were the big movements. We can go over some of the other stuff and you can see how it's doing. Brains continue to do great. This big fox coral looks amazing. My scullies look pretty good considering they are rescue scullies. They actually look really nice. Still, a little bit of algae I'm fighting. There's a little cyano on there. You know, this tank is still just trying to get back to even. So there's my giant maze brain Uluphilia, pretty sweet. Nice blasto colony. And it's all doing pretty well. These gold leptos have really filled in. That super green cauliflower continues to do really well right there. And then I've got Interstellar back there. I've got that one and another one here. So hopefully the Interstellars will really take off in here. They're pretty cool corals. The toadstools and devil hands continue to look fantastic. The giant clam is doing fantastic. And you can see its siphon is coming back from when the Tang tried to eat it off. And there's that giant bubble coral looking amazing. My little Zoa garden I'm starting to build is looking good, although I keep struggling with this algae buildup on here. I gotta clean it off every few days and I've been sick. So we got a little catching up to do on some of the algae removal. I need to go downstairs and do more work in the basement for the same kind of reasons. But overall, the tank's looking really good. So, what do you guys think of the gel filter? It allows me to film in bluer light, but I hate to say it, the colors, they just bug me. They look cool, but they're not right. So I'm really not sure how I feel about them. All right, and then for the end of the video, let's do a quick channel update. So, biggest thing that's been going on is I've ran into computer problems. Basically, I've got a 3-year-old gaming laptop that 3 years ago was pretty decent. But even at the time, it wasn't great at editing 4K video, which is what I try to shoot. But with Premiere Pro, it was well optimized for the type of video I was shooting, so it worked great. The problem I ran into is NVIDIA stopped supporting my graphics card. It's in a laptop, so I can't just swap it out. And since NVIDIA stopped supporting it, Premiere Pro stopped supporting that graphics card. So now Premiere Pro no longer works on my computer. I can use the old version, but I was at that point where I had to re-up and sign another 1-year contract to keep going with Premiere. And I was really struggling to pay that much money every month for a program that's no longer supporting the graphics card in my computer. So I've decided to build a new computer. So after I shoot this video, I'm going with a buddy and we're gonna order parts to build a new computer. We're gonna build basically a monster editing machine because that's what I need. I looked at Macs to the point where I even called up Jake Adams because as far as video editing goes, he is the guy I look up to. And a Mac and Final Cut Pro really would be the way to go, but it is so expensive to buy a nice high-end Mac. Little cut there. Had to cough for a minute. That's how it goes. So I'm gonna build a new computer and I'm gonna try DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve should be a cool editing software for me because it's free, but it's also a really pro editing software. The problem with DaVinci Resolve is my computer is way underpowered to run it with 4K videos. Yes, there is a way to optimize the files for it, but it takes about a minute a file and it would add so much time to the actual editing process. So it's time to upgrade, and to be honest, the computer I used has been limiting me in upgrading my camera. Basically, I can't do the better like 4K 10-bit files because I don't have enough processing power. So it's time to upgrade. I'm gonna upgrade, I'm gonna try DaVinci Resolve, which hopefully will give me better colors in the tank. DaVinci Resolve is supposed to be one of the best programs for color correction. So hopefully coming soon, we're gonna have better video with better color in the tank. Fingers crossed. Thanks for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.